Hey, what's happening? It's your dude, the merciless Reese L. Black. Welcome back to the booth. And of course, if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and do so. Make sure you follow us on the ground at CO2 Rawcast. And if you want to be nosy, go ahead and follow your dude at Good Evening, Mr. Black. Today, I actually wanted to go ahead and go left field for a moment. I wanted to go ahead and take the time to talk about shallowness and things of that nature. But really, I wanted to go ahead and just go into the criticism of being so-called ugly. Now, what's interesting is, if anybody has pretty much been out there in the dating world or even in a relationship world, one of the interesting things is the word ugly is barely used when it comes to something physical, right? But one of the things I did notice as, like, in my whole entire, dating single life, women don't generally use the word ugly to describe something physical on a man. The word ugly usually comes when it comes to like a characteristic, like if you said some dumb shit, or it turned them off real quick, or you just had an attitude about something, or if you were just typically just inconsiderate. But as far as something physical, I kind of noticed, like, you really don't hear too many women just be like, ugh, he ugly, get away from me. Nah, I mean, think about it. The majority of men nowadays who most people will consider like unattractive or whatever are usually in a long-term committed relationship. Hell, some are even married. But when it comes to like, this rating system, 0 to 10, who's a 6, who's a 7, who's a 8, who's a 9, who's the dime. On the women's side, when it comes to us bonehead men, yeah, we kind of have a universal scale of what we agree on basically like, what's super bad, what is fine, what is gorgeous, what is cute. But if you go over to the women's side and you see them rate men how they do, when it comes to physical, yeah, they kind of rate on, the height and the body. I really don't see them talk about the face or anything like that, or actually their appearance. Usually something that they're wearing or something, like if they have like a nice fitted shirt, if their jeans are pretty much on point and they're not sagging in their pants and shit. But as far as getting what we as men will be considered like, man, that dude ugly as hell. Look at his big ass nose, and look at them big ass lips, and them swollen ass eyes, and he got scars all over his face and shit. It's funny because one of the things I noticed is like, women really don't care about that shit. Because to them, ugly is kind of a derogatory term for character. Like, in order for you to be ugly, you gotta really say some foul ass, dumb ass, inconsiderate, insensitive ass shit. Really, you do. So a lot of you guys out there who pretty much be thinking that, you gotta get on swole, and, you gotta pretty much, have all this money and the status and everything. You looks, money, status, individual and everything. Looks ain't shit. And I'm going to tell you this, there's a lot of good looking men who pretty much have a hard time dating in the game because they already get stereotyped for either being conceited, being into themselves, probably fucking too many women, got too many baby mamas and all that crazy shit. So guess what? Their luck is not that great, honestly, to tell you the truth, and I speak from experience. But honestly, let's get back to the whole ugly thing. Us as men, we will basically criticize a woman of being ugly because she has like a certain feature that we're not down with, especially some of us who are pretty much, brainwashed to correspond everything to a European standard, to the thin nose, to the thin lips. But we like everything black down below, like the big old booty and the breastises and things of that nature. But when we get back to the face, some of us would be like, ooh, her eyes are too big, or ooh, she got a gap in her teeth. I like gaps. Nothing wrong with a gap. But anyways, that's typically what like dudes will do. Go over to the women's side. You never really hear women look at dudes walking back and forth down the sidewalk or in a bar or whatever and be like, ooh, he ugly. No. They typically, it's funny, they typically bring up something that would actually like improve him. Girl, he would have it going on if he shaved. Girl, he would have it going on if his clothes fit. Girl, he would have it going on if he, smile more, speaks more, if he was articulate, if he wasn't so quiet, if he's a little bit charismatic, he's boring. Notice that these are pretty much attributes of men that would pretty much get women to, engage. women typically get uncomfortable being around a dude who's quiet. Now, being quiet is not exactly a bad characteristic, but it kind of makes the women wonder, like, it just makes them feel awkward. Like they're kind of used to, like, guys dominating a conversation, because we'll dominate when we talk about ourselves. Hell, when we talk about work, when we talk about what we want to do, and sometimes we be forgetting to, let baby girl talk and shit. But the thing is, it's still a good characteristic because they're engaging in the conversation. It just shows that, hey, maybe they are not comfortable. It is all good. Ugly, on the other hand, is when you basically are talking to, like, this individual, and when the waitress comes by and takes the order or whatever, and the guy is pretty much just like, yo, took y'all long enough. I mean, do you normally always keep, brothers and sisters waiting like this? We've kind of been waiting here for 15 minutes waiting for you to take our order and shit. I mean, when you do something like that, obviously that's going to be a turnoff. That's an ugly characteristic. Or when it comes to, like, something, political. I know everybody is not exactly Black Lives Matter and everything, but in some instance, yeah, Black Lives Matter. So if you one of them people that pretty much talk down on somebody else's political struggle, that could come out as like an ugly characteristic. So honestly, to tell you the truth, ugly is damn near anything garbage and trashy that could just come out of your mouth and just make you look bad. Really doesn't have anything to do with, like, your appearance. I'm gonna tell you something. It's, looks are subjective. You guys have heard that. But in some cases, there's some women out there that love a brother in the baggy pants. There's some brother, sisters out there or whatever that love a brother in a ball cap. Hell, I'm gonna tell you, there's some people out there that love a man, with a shaved head. Some do not. But it's not considered ugly. It's just considered, like, unattractive. Huge difference between unattractive and ugly. When you are unattractive, it just means that there is just something about you that just doesn't draw you to the other person. They're just like, not for me, not my cup of tea. That's all it is. But when it comes to the whole ugly thing, usually you said some out of pocket shit and they're just cool on you, and you kind of just give a bad effect on them. When you hear individuals call somebody ugly, it typically doesn't mean anything about them physically, especially if the lady said that. Usually when the ladies say that, it was something internal that they were not feeling. It basically troubled their spirit and basically let them know, like, yo, I'm gonna go ahead and pump my brakes and stay away from them. So fellas, don't get offended when you hear a woman talk about, ugly. They probably saw something in them that that they wasn't feeling. Probably very intuitive. But the thing about ugly is you could change that. Ugly ain't got nothing to do with, like, a deformity or a mole on your face or nothing like that. Those are, basically perfect imperfections. But ugly is a derogatory term for your shitty ass attitude and whatever jacked up shit came out of your mouth. But anywho, I just wanted to go ahead and drop that on you. But in the meantime, you know how I do. I'm out this piece. Good evening, Mr. Black.